so shine.
Peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Labors of Love podcast. We are here to inspire, uplift, and enlighten. Each episode, we will be hearing from Black midwives, doulas, and other traditional childbirth supporters who have dedicated their lives to being of service to Black mothers and families in all aspects of the motherhood journey. This evening, I have the pleasure of speaking with Jalyn Spencer-Harris. She is a certified lactation consultant that has helped hundreds of mothers and birthing people breastfeed over the last 7 years. She is the owner of Detroit Mama Hub, a community of support for new and expectant mothers, and also has a private lactation practice where she provides in-home and telehealth lactation support. Before becoming a lactation consultant, Jalen received a master's degree in acupuncture and specialized in women's wellness. She also holds a bachelor's degree in chemistry and chemical engineering from Spelman College and Georgia Tech, respectively. As a mother that breastfed her 2 children for a combined total of 5 years, Jalen understands firsthand the joys and challenges of breastfeeding. She treats every client with a sense of compassion and non-judgment, and has a particular passion for guiding mothers in building confidence in their bodies' wisdom. She is on a mission to help 1,000 mothers of color reach their breastfeeding and lactation goals through her Milk Moxie online program. Thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome. Greetings. Greetings.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Excellent. I'm so glad you could join us. This is our first live show after coming off of a bit of a hiatus. So I am grateful to have you and to jump right into this conversation.
Okay,
so
great.
Definitely, just looking into you and reading your bio, impressive background. Definitely seems like wellness and healthcare was something that was a part of your path. So what got you into the birth work aspect of it? What was kind of that drive?
So honestly, I kind of fell into it. I wasn't, if you had asked me, 10 years ago that I was going to be working with moms breastfeeding, I wouldn't have even had a clue. Of course I have a 20-year-old son, and he, of course, so that was a long time ago. I breastfed him. And actually at that time, when he was about 3 years old, I attended a breastfeeding peer counselor training. And it was something my friend invited me to. And at that time I was actually, I wanted to be a midwife. And so I was like working with a, home birth midwife and taking, different classes and things like that. So that's why I ended up taking the breastfeeding peer counselor training at that time. I didn't end up becoming a midwife. I ended up going to nursing school for a year and then actually a semester, and decided, I don't really want to be a nurse. Because that's just not my background. Like, I'm into holistic health, and it was just not something I saw myself doing. So in hindsight, I'm like, I probably should have went ahead and did it, because it would have opened up some more opportunities for me. But in any case, I ended up instead going to acupuncture school. But I always had a real passion for birth, and I just always thought women's bodies were amazing. And then, I did acupuncture for a few years. And then when I got pregnant with my daughter, I had to kind of take a step back. And that's when I was kind of like looking for some community. Like, I was trying to meet other moms that were pregnant. And I happened upon Black Mothers Breastfeeding Association.
Yes.
And so I started attending their breastfeeding club, and they were doing a breastfeeding peer counselor training. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll do, that sounds interesting. And I didn't end up doing theirs. I ended up doing another, a similar program, not really a similar program, but there was another organization doing a training. So I ended up doing theirs, and I was like 7 months pregnant with my daughter. And I did the training, and then I had her. And then when she was 4 months, they put out a ad that they were looking for a peer counselor. And I was like, well, I need the money. And I did the training, so maybe I'll like try it and see if I like it. And so I did. And so I ended up working with Black Mothers Breastfeeding for 2 years as a peer counselor, doing home visits. And I really feel grateful for that opportunity, because it really let me get like hands-on. I think I got most of my hands-on experience through that organization and working with the moms directly. And then, it was really great, because it really helped me understand better, like a lot of the barriers that moms have with breastfeeding. Because my experience, I think, was, I don't know if it wasn't anything special, but, breastfeeding for me with my first child it had its challenges, but compared to, when I was, talking to the moms and seeing like all the just like issues with not even wanting to breastfeed and just having a really hard time, it was just like, what is going on? And so I really had got a better understanding of like all of the challenges that women of color, Black women particularly, face with breastfeeding. So yeah, that's how I got my start.
Wow. So you're in the Detroit area. Is that where that primarily took place? So it sounds like, you said that when you were breastfeeding your son is when you first were introduced to like the support around breastfeeding, or did you have any recollection growing up of like, women being pregnant or breastfeeding or things like that?
So, it's funny. And I was thinking about that, because I'm developing this breastfeeding course, a breastfeeding program, and just thinking about all the things that I feel like are important and are really key to breastfeeding success. And when I look at, like I didn't grow up around babies, or like I didn't see women breastfeed. My mom says she breastfed me, but like she's like, I think I breastfed you for 6 months, but it was the 70s and nobody was breastfeeding, so I didn't breastfeed that long. But but I didn't know anyone. Like I was the first of my friends to have a baby. I was like the guinea pig. They waited like 10 years. I was like in my mid-20s when I had my son. And so so yeah, it was just me, like, I grew up, my mom was kind of a hippie, sort of. Well, I don't know if I should say that. I hope she's not listening, but but she was like into natural foods and herbs, and I was like drinking herbal tea and try this, try that, and we just really grew up like like
with that kind of exposure.
And so for me, like Western medicine is always like a last resort, and like the whole concept of, like you can heal your body, like you have the resources to do that. There's herbs, there's diet, there's exercise, like, like that was just kind of ingrained in me. I mean, she was, it wasn't like she was like, I don't know. It was just something that was just part of my upbringing, And then once I got to be when I was in college, of course, I wanted to explore that more. And I was like, oh, vegetarianism and yoga and, all of that. So when it was, when I got pregnant, and it was like, of course I'm going to breastfeed, right? Like I'm not going to give my child formula because that's not natural. It's processed. Like it was just like a no-brainer for me. And so even though I struggled, which most women do in the first couple weeks, first month of breastfeeding, like I just had this determination, right? That I was just going to do it. Like there's no other option. I don't think I've thought of it in my head, like no formula bad or anything like that. It was just, of course I'm going to breastfeed. Like I'm going to just figure it out. And back then it wasn't the amount of support that's around now. Is like 20 years ago, like I didn't see a lactation. I didn't even know what a lactation consultant was in the hospital, right? I didn't have an electric breast pump. You know, they weren't giving those out like candy. You know, no one helped me in the hospital.
Wow.
I had the La Leche League book, The Womanly Art of Breastfeeding, and I was looking at the book and looking at my son like, I think I'm doing it right, but it hurts and my nipples are about to fall off, but I guess I'll just keep trying until it works out. And it did, you know, but I had that confidence, like, it's going to work out. Like, I know my body's going to work. You know what I mean?
And I think that's amazing. And like you said, like the confidence to have that. And I get that whole lack of support and not knowing what to do. And then the discomfort of it. So did that kind of help you once you did get on board with the coaching aspect or the support aspect of it, kind of having those experiences early on, knowing what you would have liked to have happened while you were in the hospital or, you know, beginning your nursing journey? Does that help with, and the acupuncture? I mean, there's so many things, but the acupuncture and everything else, how does that impact, you know, the service you provide?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's just all about, like, you know, my mission is just to help moms just believe in their bodies, believe their bodies work, you know, and I think there's this message that a lot of women are getting is like, our bodies are broke, like they don't work, you know, and it's not just with breastfeeding, it's with birth, right? So it's like the same, I feel like, you know, like with birth, you know, there's like a bigger movement of like, no, trust your body. Like you can do this like natural birth and things like that. But with breastfeeding, we haven't really got there. Like with breastfeeding, you know, it's more about, oh, you have to have someone show you what to do. And like, of course, I'm a lactation consultant, so I'm gonna say yes, of course, reach out for my services. But I think it really boils down to, you have to trust your body and you have to believe like, this is what your breasts were made for. Like, of course they're going to work. You know, you have to, like, if you do what you know, the basics, it's going to work, you know? And so that's what I always try to instill in moms, because birth can go crazy. Like, I wanted to have a natural birth with my son. Like, I had all these, I'm going to be in a birth center and I'm not going to have any epidural, you know, all that. And my husband's going to coach me. And I didn't have, you know, that didn't happen. Like, I ended up getting induced, and, you know, I ended up getting Nubain, which is some narcotic. Like, I had a lot of things happen. Like, they weren't doing skin to skin back then, immediate skin to skin. So, you know, there's a lot of things that could have impacted whether or not my son latched, you know, all the things that I know are occurring now in hospitals, which we say are part of the problem of why moms have such difficulty with breastfeeding. But I had some of those issues, but yet I was still able to make it happen. And I think like I said, I think it really boils down to, how do you learn how to trust your body? How do you believe that it's gonna work? Now, of course, support can be a part of that, like knowing when to reach out, you know, because a lot of times moms wait, you know, they wait until like they're ready to quit, right? They wait till 2-3 weeks in, they're Googling things on, you know, forever. They're YouTubing for hours instead of like, just reach out for support. Like, this is the village. You got to use your village, you know? And I think, you know, that's not, still trying to drive that in. But you know what, I just thought about this, when I, right after college, I actually spent a year in Ghana, West Africa. And so I hadn't thought about this till a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh, maybe that had an impact too. I was there for a year, and of course, the women were just breastfeeding naturally. They whipped it out whenever, like, and the men didn't say anything. They're just like,
nobody's gawking at it or anything else.
It was nothing. It was like, la la la. They just whoop. And, you know, I'm sure that probably had some impact, even though, you know, and of course I was like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing. Okay. But, you know, these are women that look like me, and or I look like them, you know, and it's like, okay, I'm sure like seeing that made me think, oh, okay, that's what you do. You know, that's how it should, it should be that easy, you know? So,
just, you know, hearing your story and the confidence that you had in what it was that your body could do. And I think, I know for me with the whole birth process, it really took for me to it took preparation, right?
Yeah.
It took me like reading about things and kind of understanding the process so that before I was in any kind of situation where I've, felt distressed or anything, I felt prepared.
Right.
So are there anything for someone who might be listening and maybe they are, haven't had children, or maybe they do and they're having more and they're considering the breastfeeding thing. What are some of the preparation that they can do so that when it comes time and you might hit a tough spot or even that first latch, that they're like, okay, we got it.
Yeah, that's a good question. And you're right. Like, educating you, like you got to know the basics, right? Because if you don't, you're going to think everything's a problem. You're going to wonder, is my baby supposed to be breastfeeding 12 times a day? Like this doesn't seem normal, like all day. This is all full-time job. Like, is it supposed to be like this? Like, you have to know the basics. You have to know, how do you know a baby's getting enough milk? Like, that's the number one question is, I can't see, my breasts don't have measuring, right. So, I would say the first thing you want to do to prepare is take a class, like take a basic class. Like don't, like going on Pinterest and like picking out infographics. That's not a class. You know what I mean? Like, because I hear women say all the time, like, oh yeah, I've been I've been on YouTube looking. And then I ask them, okay, so do you know how to tell if your baby's getting enough milk? No. Right. And that's like the biggest issue. That's why so many women supplement. It's because they're afraid that their baby isn't getting enough milk.
Right.
Yeah. So I would say, take a basic class. I worked for WIC for 5 years. And so they provide, if you qualify for WIC, I would say definitely seek out their breastfeeding support. They do classes. If not, there's classes you can purchase and they're all like affordable. There's probably some free ones too, but just make sure it's a comprehensive course. But the other thing is making sure you have a community, right? So not only your family, figure out like, how do they feel about breastfeeding? Because if your mom didn't breastfeed, how is she going to support you? Right. Like she might like say, oh yeah, breastfeeding is good. Like everybody says breastfeeding is best. But when it comes down to it, if she's looking at you like, oh, I don't know if my grandbaby's getting enough milk. Maybe you should.
Put some rice in that bottle.
Oh yeah, or slipping them a bottle of formula while you're taking a nap. That happens like all the time.
You don't want to be at war. No,
you don't. You don't want anybody just really discouraging you and making you think, oh, something must be wrong, or I'm not feeding my baby right, or you know what I mean. So see where their head is at. What do they know? Like, in the best case scenario, they take a class with you. Like whoever's going to be with you, at least for the, in those first couple weeks, they should know about breastfeeding just as well as you do. So that if you're having one of those moments when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, like they can remind you, it's okay. Like, remember, like it's normal. This is normal. Right. Yeah. And of course, dad, like he's definitely got to be on board. Because if he isn't bored, you definitely, it's going to be tragic. He's not on board. If nobody else is on board, he needs to be on board because, even if the family is kind of funny acting, at least he can like stand up for you. Like, we're doing this. She's doing good, Yeah. And of course, outside of that, if you can find other women in your community, right? Join a breastfeeding club before you have the baby, just so that you can like start building your village early on. Yeah. And then if you do have some challenges or, some concerns, you can like text your friend or DM your friend, somebody you met, like, hey, is this normal?
Right.
So I think that's
that definitely goes into some of the services that you provide and some of the initiatives that you have going on around the Mommy Hub and things of that nature. So can you kind of share with us, what that is, how it came to be, and the services that are provided?
Yeah, sure. So I've been working with the Mama Hub since 2017. Well, actually, it was actually something I dreamed up when I was pregnant with my daughter.
Nice.
Like I kind of did it for selfish reasons. Like I just wanted to meet other moms.
Yeah.
And like, hey, this is a great idea. So, I created this business plan. I was like, oh, this is great. And then I had my daughter and I was like, I don't have the energy to even think about this, right? So it was a good idea, but yeah. So when she was 2017, when she was like 4 years old, I kind of like, picked it up out of the closet and dusted it off and, figured, oh, let me give this a whirl. I had a friend that I met in a business class, and she was actually interested in doing a co-working space for parents. And so we thought, okay, let's put these two ideas together. So we just started like going out in the community and like doing pop-up events and like just having like meetups in a church once a week. And, we just had moms coming out. And then eventually we ended up renting a space. So we had a space where we had, classes and formal classes. And we still did our meetups, like our just, casual meetups. And, we had prenatal yoga and things like that. So that was going on until COVID.
Right.
And so anyway, make a long story short, I ended up just closing everything down permanently last summer, almost a year ago. And so now we're just basically right now it's just the online community. And so, moms can go online and meet other moms until the idea is like, hopefully soon we can do more in-person things and meetups and things like that. Yeah. So that's basically where it is right now.
Gotcha.
And I wanted to mention one more thing with the moms preparing is postpartum support. So just like, making sure you have someone that's going to be able to be with you in those first couple weeks. I would say even the first month. So if that's like your mom or like someone other than your partner, because he can't do everything. He's going to be tired. He's going to be emotionally drained. And, like you need someone that's kind of outside of that. Because if you have to worry about cooking or trying to eat and keeping the house together and all that stuff, like you can't focus on healing. You can't focus on breastfeeding, and I think that's a big part of that makes a big impact on whether or not moms can breastfeed successfully too.
That's definitely significant. And just we talked about like just in groups about having like a blessing way in a sense when the mom is pregnant, to have that kind of rotation of support so it doesn't just fall on one person, but it's something you're comfortable with. So you can take that nap and you can have those dishes washed and that meal prepared. But the significance of that, like you said, the bonding time with baby, then it doesn't become, so overwhelming for all of this newness at once, trying to juggle it all. So
for sure. That's a good idea. I had never I've heard of blessing ways in terms of like, just like celebrating the mom before she has a baby, but not the part where you have people take on that task of providing that support. Yeah, that's great.
Definitely. And again, hindsight, because when I had my children, and that wasn't necessarily in place. I'm grateful my mother was there to, spend some weeks, which was
right. Mine too.
Yeah.
She spent the first month with me. So I was like, I thought, I thought that was normal until I saw like what other people, like, no, they're not, people aren't getting that.
No.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Right. So again, these are, some of the solutions that from a community standpoint, can be in place. And that's why what you're doing as far as, with those meetups and those groups, how significant has it changed now that everything is online? I know you have the Milk Moxie. So how are you transitioning that, from that in-person to this online, but still building that bond and community?
So I've kind of started focusing more on breastfeeding support, just like you know, because I mean, that's definitely a great need. Community is too, but again, like with not being able to do things in person, I just kind of like, okay, let me just refocus my energy on breastfeeding. So, you know, wasn't doing in-person breastfeeding support for a little bit, but I'm back to doing like in-person, you know, in-home consultations and things like that. And then with the Mama Hub online community, we do, we actually have online prenatal yoga and mom and me yoga once a week. And, you know, it's just a way for moms to like discuss any, you know, any questions they have about random, you know, like, what's your favorite? I don't know.
What are you using for something? Like,
right. What do you, and then occasionally we'll have like a workshop on, like we had a doula come on and do like, you know, how to prepare for birth and, you know, different topics like that we offer as well. Yeah.
Okay. And are there women? So this group is not just, you know, breastfeeding mothers. There's people considering, you know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We don't, it's not exclusive to breastfeeding, although, you know, a lot of moms do breastfeed, but, you know, it's an open, you know, open community, judgment free. That's what we always say, is judgment free. You know, because there's, you know, there's lots of reasons why people have to use formula or feel like they have to use formula. So I'm not going to place any judgment on that. You know, I don't know their story, you know. So yeah, we welcome everybody. But yeah, it is
considering pregnancy, like you have
pregnancy. Yep.
So pre-pregnancy, you can come and join and.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. Yeah.
Now that seems excellent. And I mean, just the support and what's going on in the area in which you serve. So I think that's phenomenal. And now that it's an online platform, it doesn't matter where you are. So, you know, This is an international platform. So definitely, you know, have the opportunity for people to reach out and get connected. I will have your information as far as, you know, website, you know, the bio information, all in the description. So, you know, please, you know, stay connected. Whoever is tuning in, definitely get in touch. If you know someone who can benefit from this information, share, because that's really what it's all about. And I'm grateful that, you know, you're here and we're having this conversation, because we cannot talk about this enough. You know, it can't be talked about too many times, you know, all over the platform, online, you know, social media, podcasts, what have you. It's just so valuable what it is that you're doing, you know, for the community, breastfeeding, just understanding birth and making it a community effort and not just talking to a specific group or women only. But making it just, you know, all encompassing. So I am truly grateful for your time. I'm thankful that you were able to get on and we could have this conversation. And I definitely look forward to continuing and, you know, staying connected.
Yeah, for sure. Where are you located?
Right now I'm in DC. I'm kind of back and forth. Yeah, between Connecticut and DC. Yeah.
Yeah. I lived there with my, when I was with my son for a couple of years. Yeah.
Really love the area. Like definitely. Yeah. But now Detroit is like, there's a lot going on in Detroit right now.
Yeah.
The agricultural thing.
Coming. Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Community gardens, all that. Yep.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I look forward to continuing this conversation.
All right. Thank you, Hafeeza. Appreciate it.
You.
Take care.